And then maybe a little.
Oh no, it's not coming through as well.
Is that coming through? You guys, we're here with Eli Sokolow, if I'm saying that right this time, of The Living Strange. Again, because we are in quarantine right now, we are doing the best that we can, and it gives us an opportunity, since we can't go to live shows, to interview some of our favorite people that we have seen in the past. How you doing? That's for you, Eli.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So James and I stumbled on Living Strange. James, it was which
Oh, I know the exact one.
right.
It was you guys, and then Deep Sea Peachtree and Parlor Mob, and I came for Parlor Mob, and it was
Oh yeah,
elsewhere.
at Elsewhere.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
the first time. So we have our thing where we always come for the openers, and seeing you guys is specifically the reason why. Because if we hadn't shown up when we did, we wouldn't have discovered you guys right there. And you so far the only band we've talked about more than once on the podcast. And to top it all off, we fucking mentioned you guys like every other episode. So we're just like, we were really glad that you agreed to do this.
Definitely. I think after
Hell
that,
yeah.
we saw you guys at Strange Fest.
Mm-hmm. I got the T-shirt.
And then James saw you guys at a house show, and then we both saw you at Knitting Factory. So I guess
Yeah.
one thing I want to ask you is how is it you're a musician and your whole thing is to be out. I mean, you record, but a big part of it is being out there in front of people, and you can't do that now. How are you doing in all of this? And how's the band doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, the band, I mean, we're very adaptable people. So we're just kind of doing our best. I mean, I think we had a lot of things canceled, which is disappointing on a lot of levels. I mean, but at the same time, it's just, this is such a bigger situation that even though I'm kind of oh man, that would have been so much fun, or we would have gotten paid, or things like that. It's kind of I don't know. I feel like what we do feels so unimportant when life and death become the
Sure.
I guess the barometer,
Yeah.
that I don't feel that bad. And honestly, especially this year leading up to this moment, I have really been pretty isolated individually, outside of playing shows. So it's funny because before this whole thing, I was kind of saying to myself, okay, I should, crawl out of my cave and be more social and get around. And I just, now everyone is kind of doing what I have been doing for the last couple months. Cause I was finishing a degree. I was working on a lot of recording projects, and I was, in general, I mean, I love my friends, but I'm kind of the person who I have a few friends that I'm super close with, but I don't like to, have a ton of random half friend people that I see, going out or whatever. So yeah, it's funny though, because my birthday party, I had to cancel it. So when all this is done, I'm gonna have a great birthday party.
When was your birthday? When was your birthday? When was your birthday?
March 12th.
You're 21 now?
It was March 12th. Yeah, 21 years old.
Finally, and I couldn't even go out for it, man. That sucks. All right, yeah. Well, you got to make sure that you got to make sure you make up for it.
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
funny. I know, but yeah. Well, all the more reason to have a great party after all of it. But honestly, I don't know. Sure, there's definitely times where I'm kind of freaking out, but I think that a couple of things that keep me at bay are just one, just continuing to work on things, kind of understanding. I mean, this is in my life personally, I've had to accept it, in several different moments that whatever my circumstances, it's just out of my hands. There's just nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, especially this. I mean, you can't plan for a global pandemic,
Yeah, exactly. And so because of me, I don't feel I don't feel like I'm letting myself down by doing anything. Like there's no right or wrong in this time. Like sometimes I'm like, I want to get a lot of work done and it'll be great. And other times I'm like, if I do nothing right now, it's really okay. And so I think it's just healthy to maintain that balance. But that's something anyways, like working from home on, you know, music production and things like that, that in general comes into play, because a lot of times, like when I would be producing records and mainly working in my room or in other rooms in my apartment, I would, you know, often kind of have a weird balance of always getting something done and always not doing something at the same time, you know,
Sure.
where I might be asleep in my bed, but also like I'm thinking like right now I could be mixing the, you know, song we tracked today. And sometimes I will. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. and I'm awake. I might as well just do it. And so I don't know. I feel like not having a normal schedule, I've been kind of used to doing that sort of stuff, but
Like, what is
it's
time?
crazy. I don't know, you know.
Like, what is time right
Time
now?
is not real, you know.
Right, it's gone.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the band is cool. The good thing about the band is we recorded a bunch of songs instrumentally before this that I just needed to do vocals on. So
Oh,
I
wow.
have those and I can just finish them myself.
Great.
So
yeah.
that's really nice. And then we're still writing some music together, but it's the kind of thing where especially because a lot of stuff that we've been doing, especially now, is a bit more electronic. It's much easier to do remotely. You know, you don't have to be in the same room to do it. So yeah, you know, just getting stuff done, but also kind of staying relaxed about it. Like there's no real deadline. I mean, I am glad though, because we are still on the inside doing some things. Like we're about to sign a management deal, so that's
Oh,
cool.
awesome.
Great. Good for you guys. Yeah.
But
Is that breaking news on High Decibels podcast?
Did they hear it first here? Is this an exclusive?
But
Pew, pew, pew.
at the
No?
same at the same time, even then, like we might not be playing any shows until the fall. You know, we were supposed to do a summer tour and that got moved to the fall.
Where was the tour going to be?
So we're just kind of, so it was going to be primarily the East Coast, but then also some West Coast action, because we
And
were
that's where
booked
you're
for
from,
a
right? You're
festival
from
in
the
California.
You're from the West Coast,
I'm
right?
from
Yeah.
California.
LA. You know, right before all this
Yeah.
came down, I was in LA. I was supposed to be there for a vacation. And not only did everything close down in like the 3 days that I was there, I had canceled it, cut it short, flew back to New York. But B, it was also the one time of year where it actually rains there. So I didn't even get to like go to LA
Yeah.
and experience like
Oh no.
the place famous for its
Yeah.
perfect weather. When I'm there for a weekend, it literally rained the entire time. So I didn't even get to experience
Oh man,
that
that's
city
so
at
silly.
all.
Oh man.
Damn.
So I want to ask you too, like how often do you actually communicate with the other band members?
Pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Obviously it depends on what we're doing. I mean, when we're not in this circumstance, I live with Nico, so I'll talk to him like every day.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I'll talk to Ben at least once a week, but usually more. But during this, I don't know, it's kind of been, because it's on me now to finish these songs, I haven't been talking to them that much outside of like, we have a weekly check-in to just like make sure that we're all doing anything we're supposed to be doing. Because it's like we are on this schedule of putting out songs and making videos. And even though we're in this quarantine, we're still making videos.
Great.
So because of that, we just need to have creative meetings and talk about filming stuff. So we are putting out a new song on Monday and a video a week after that.
That's great.
Cool. And then we're May. So I think we're kind of
Oh man, I got you
just
frozen.
like king.
Okay.
We can.
You know what?
I mean, I've
Can you re-say that? You froze there for a second.
Yeah, you were freezing on our end. Can you just backtrack to where you said you're making videos, and then what did you say?
Oh God, my memory's awful. We
Me too.
uh we're making videos, and we're, other than, I mean, even then, like, I've done, I think, 3 or 4 live stream concerts, and Nico did a live stream concert, Ben did a live stream concert. We're all keeping busy in really any way we can.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the only way too.
Speaking of concerts, like we actually, because one of the things that we really wanted to get into, like with really, because what we do is we cover live shows, and we always felt like, hey, when we interview people, we love to talk to them about like our perspective from the show. It's kind of like our segment that we
Mhm.
call like it was good for us, was it good for you too? So I just want to like backtrack. James, can you just like talk about what your experience was for the house show? And I would love to hear like what Eli's experience was playing that show.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that because what always stands out to me is like my buddy Drake, who was there too, and I showed up awkwardly early. And then we came in
Yeah.
and you guys like were looking at us. I don't think you and I had maybe briefly met at one point, but you had no idea who I was. And especially not Drake. You had never met him. So we were like awkwardly standing
Yeah,
around. I
it's
ran into you
not
outside.
not it's not personal. I feel like
Uh,
most people that I know, I don't really know.
no. It's
So
I think it's just like one
there's
thing
that.
said 7 o'clock, and so I showed up then. You're like, no, it was really like 8. It was just whatever. But it's like I had
Yeah,
met you
all that. That's
before.
the thing. It's punk time.
Oh, okay.
Punk
So
time.
yeah. And here I am. I have the whole thing where it's show up on time so you don't miss anything. And that time it bit me in the ass. But there was that bar right nearby. But anyway, so we
Yeah,
got
right
there.
next door.
Right. So we got there. Is that tiny room? Everybody's crammed in. It's hot as hell. Man. So those are all just friends of yours, or those fellow musicians, just people that you guys know.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, we've had so many shows like that at
Sure.
the apartment. So, I mean, usually it's a mix. I mean, I might know half the people there, or 3/4 of the people there. There's always some people I don't know, but I
Mm.
like. I mean, I don't do those anymore at my own house. So I just kind of got burned out from it. But I think that doing it is a great way to meet people. It's a
Mhm.
good way to meet good musicians and just kind of really anyone in that scene. I mean, like, obviously any scene, has different kind of subgroups or whatever of social groups. But I feel like most of the people that I've met at those shows are usually really creative, really cool people. So at that one, I think we played with A Boy Named John,
Mhm.
and what was?
Human
Do you
Man.
remember what other band played?
Human
Oh
Man.
yeah, okay. So I think what that
They are
show
so
was is
hard to
Human
find.
Man was a band. Well, so
Yeah.
I don't think that they're a band anymore. They
Uh,
they they were a band, and then the singer moved to Rome,
Oh,
and
like Rome, New York, or
uh,
Rome.
Rome.
no, Rome. Actual when in Rome, real
Wow,
actual
fella.
Rome, and I know,
Good for
and
him. Rome is incredible.
um, that guy is a great performer, but I heard that they were coming back, or he was coming back to New York, and they wanted to play some shows. So then I
Cool.
contacted them to do that show. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, I would love to like uh, ask you about the Knitting Factory show, the most recent one that we went to. Um, that show, it's really interesting that you were saying earlier that you seem to be a guy that often keeps to himself, and it's like on stage you'd like never know it. It's like night and day. There's this extrovert, and there was this, I don't know, I really enjoyed that show a lot. It really rocked hard. But honestly, my favorite thing that you did was I honestly, I wish I could remember the name of the song. I think it might have been the first time I heard it. It was this ballad, and you were, I don't know if you planned this or it was improvised, but you were like leaning down and like grabbing people's hands
Yeah.
in the front row, and it
I
took
think
me back.
I was probably playing "You're So Beautiful"
Yes. Yeah.
ballad
Yes,
song.
it
That
was.
was the one.
And
Yeah.
it took me back because when I was a little kid, I remember watching this clip of Air Supply on some show, And, you know, Russell
Yeah.
Hitchcock, the lead singer of Air Supply, I think he really fancies himself a ladies' man. Because not only was he doing that, but he was like handing out like roses to the ladies in the front row, just one after the other. I'm so obsessed with this clip. I've like actually tried to find it on the internet and I can't find it anywhere. I'm like, Russell Hitchcock, roses,
Wow.
nothing. But I was like thinking of that. And the thing about it was like, even as like a 5-year-old, as much as enamored as I was to like think about having that kind of attention, which was probably what his intended effect was also very amused by it, because even at that age, I knew that was corny. I knew that was silly.
Sure.
And then when you
Sure.
did that, I was like, I was again equal parts enamored and very amused, but I was like, he knows that this is kind of funny, you know? And it was just, it's such a delightful feeling to have, just like relishing in something that is so like silly. And I was like, thank you for letting me experience that again, because I have not experienced that
Oh, sure.
in many years.
You know what? I think that well, a couple things. I mean, one, I think I really like performing because I feel like I can kind of embody an energy that I don't usually have in my day to day. And I feel like to me, that's like why I like to do it as much as I can, because it's like getting all this energy out so that in my day to day, I feel like I don't need to see anybody, you know, I can just be chill.
Yeah, I
And
get it.
because, and I like the idea also of, because I feel like being in a band, um, if you're on the stage, or when I won't speak for other people, but when I'm on stage, I think it's really important to put on a captivating show, because ultimately, otherwise, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the audience. I feel like if I'm asking people, or the venue's asking people, or whatever, the show is asking people to pay money to come see the show, I feel like they should leave feeling like they experienced something. And really, I'm not connected to a lot of the energy that I see from some of my peers in Brooklyn who think that it's too passe to put on a performance. I don't know. Like, I see a lot of bands that just kind of stand there because moving around is lame, or because whatever. And to me, I think that ultimately that kind of behavior is, I think that that's just like people who are afraid
Or maybe,
That's so funny you say
to
this.
be
This is like
judged.
literally
Like,
something that
Did-
James
you
and I have
know?
talked about on our
So,
podcast. We have talked about
on
this
top of
exact
all that,
thing.
yeah, on top of all that, do you know the band Matt and Kim?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So they are similar. Like I remember reading about them, and when they started out years ago, also in Brooklyn, they said the same thing. They're like, so many Brooklyn bands are just up there and they look bored, and they were like, we didn't want to be that. And so to this day,
Yeah.
I still consider them like my favorite live act, because they still put on such a good show, you know. And you guys are the same
Totally.
way. So when you were the first act on, you know, I'm gonna go back to this Parlor Mob show. You guys are the first act on. There's like 10 people there, and you're absolutely bringing it the entire time. It didn't matter if it was 2 people right there. So that's honestly like, when I
Yeah.
see that, and not to say that like musically you guys are all great on top of it all, you guys are making great music, but when I see that on stage, I'm automatically drawn in, and I'm automatically like friendlier to whatever this band is, because at least you're like trying to engage with me a bit.
Honestly, like,
Yeah. Well, to me,
yeah. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, it's really about connecting as people, and I think
Sure.
that's not even that. It's more about that than it is about music. Music is like one facet of that, but I think that um, that's kind. Yeah, I don't know. That's the point of it, because if someone feels like they connected to you, ultimately they can put on the record at home and hear all the details, you know, and understand some of the stuff that was lost in translation. But especially given just how fast-paced life is, how much information everybody gets all the time, it's really effective to be active on the stage, to be kind of doing something. I think, like I said, I think a lot of the inoffensive behavior, and I don't mean like inoffensive in a literal sense, I just mean like as far as, you know, being very reserved, comes from a place of, you know, not wanting to put yourself out there, not wanting to be judged. And there are some projects where I totally get it. Like, I would not expect Elliott Smith to be
Right.
dancing around. That would be stupid.
Right.
That's not what it's about. But ultimately, you know, we're a loud band, and I think that yeah, it's just physically it has to match it all, and it's so fun. Like, I have such a good time when I play, and I think that's the thing. Like, it never feels like a chore. It's like, honestly, my favorite thing to do is to play shows. So I'm glad that you both were at that show. That was probably one of my favorite shows we've played.
The Parlor Mob one?
The Knitting Factory.
Oh, the Knitting Factory.
No,
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah,
it's
we're
funny what
glad
you
we
say.
made it too.
It's funny what you say about, like, you know, like someone like Elliott Smith maybe doesn't do that kind of thing. But again, I feel like feels like it's a poor taste analogy, but the best way I can put it is like he opens up his heart. You know what I'm saying? In his
absolutely.
music.
And that's the thing. I mean, everybody has different different I just got it.
Fucked up.
I know, it's bad.
Yeah, I think that everybody has their own way of connecting. You don't have to connect in the same way.
But here's the thing is that
that would be bad, you know.
The thing is that, you know, and I see that in his music, but the thing is your show was such like a breath of fresh air for us, because we had just come off the heels of you know, a couple of bands that we had seen that not only didn't bring kind of energy you have, but they didn't bring their heart to the stage. They really just, it was like a wall. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like, do we even need to be here? And so your show, you know, was like such a nice turn of events for us, where we just felt like, oh, he wants us to be here. Do you know what I'm saying? And he wants to be here. And, you know, I'm really
the big thing is, like, the best shows are where the band's up there and they look like they're having as much, if not more, fun than us in the crowd. You know, if you want me as a fan to have fun, then I want to see that on stage. You always see that, so keep that up. Seriously.
Can I ask you about the half one color and half the other color? Like, where'd you come up with that? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do it now at every show. To kind of just bring our visual element more to the stage, because a lot of our graphics are pink and black, and I like the idea that because we're a band, instead of all having our own thing, we're like one. Like, to me, it's like, so Nico's all pink, I'm half and half, and Ben is black, and it's like when we're all together, I feel like we're something greater than each of us alone.
Sure.
And so to me, I kind of wanted to just visually show that to an audience. But I think in terms of coming up with that outfit, I wanted something that was unique, that felt, I don't know, it felt cool, but it wasn't like necessarily of a specific time or place. Because I mean, all kinds of acts wear jumpsuits. You know, Devo wears jumpsuits, Brockhampton wears jumpsuits. You know, there's a lot of jumpsuit artists, but ultimately it's not like there was a time when every band wore a jumpsuit. Or at least every rock band. Maybe boy bands did or something. But I think that, yeah, so for me, that, and then the half and half thing, I was thrift shopping, and there's a half and half sweater that I really liked. And then later in time, unrelated to that, I was dyeing my hair. I had blonde hair, and I was dyeing it red, and I got to the halfway point, and I just looked in the mirror, and I felt, man, I should just keep it like this.
Nice.
So on the spot, I decided to not dye the other half. And then after having the sweater and hair, I was like, you know what? I like this half and half thing, because to me, what it kind of means is that we're more than one thing at once. And I think that that's totally true. Like, a lot of the music and the songs and the lyrics, you know, we might be pulling from two completely different areas of music, which is probably not obvious to the listener. I think it's a really personal part of the process of creating, because everybody has different associations when they hear certain sounds. So to me, I wanted to wear something that felt unique, memorable, and ultimately described kind of what the music was. Like I feel like if the band was a piece of clothing, that's what it would be, you know.
Nice.
And y'all are more than the sum of your parts, sir. I will say that. That show that we saw, at Knitting Factory, a couple of bands we really got into. There was Grey Hunter. We liked them, and we really liked the Values, like a
Sure, we saw
lot.
them again. Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on those bands, and what's your connection to them? This is my Value shirt, by the
Well,
way.
nice.
Yeah.
I've known the Values for a while. I've seen them go through a bunch of different incarnations of with their lineup and stuff, and I think they're really good. Especially, you know, it's cool. Like I prefer for us to play with more electronic acts, because ultimately I feel like usually those acts aren't as loud as us, and it
Balance.
just it allows for a good balance of energy, where us playing somehow feels refreshing after that, not in a mean way, but just in a like, it doesn't feel like you've just been hit with loud music for, you know, bands, and now there's another one and you're like, oh great, you know,
Mhm.
It's
more
very like, and
loud.
now for something completely different. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the challenge
I
of going
love
to like
that.
certain shows. Like, so what I like about this Brooklyn scene is there really is no, it's not like the Brooklyn punk scene right now. It's just, there's just all kinds of music going on. And I feel like a lot of times maybe in other scenes or in other eras, like if you go to a show, it's a punk show and then you get 3 punk bands. And then to me, by the end of that, that's less
Yeah,
interesting than if it's like with that band, it's like that was a sort of more post-hardcore band to start off. Then the Values,
yeah,
which
yeah,
are
great
are
answer.
an 80s dance rock band. It's, you know, they wear that on their sleeves. And then you guys are, you know, you're rock and with plenty of other influences, but, you know, rock at your core. So it was great to just have
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
variety there.
Who are some of your biggest influences?
My biggest influences, okay, well, it really ranges, but there's a couple of all-time favorites, like, and like easy. Although here's what I'll say is a lot of the things I'm influenced by, I don't necessarily try and emulate, you know?
Sure, that's fine. Yeah.
So that's part of it too. Cause I feel like as a band, I never want to feel like the type of band where you could say, man, they clearly love so and so, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's like something I feel like in New York you get a lot of that kind of, oh, that person clearly loves Mac DeMarco, or they clearly love the Strokes. And you know, no hate on either of those acts or acts inspired by them, but I feel like that's just part of my goal, I guess, when I write music. So influences, my all-time favorite band is Radiohead. I think that that's
Good one.
fairly common
Mm-hmm.
amongst people.
It's
I
a
just
good
love
choice.
it.
And
I
that's a
think,
reason. There's a reason for that,
yeah,
though.
Right.
It's not a
Especially with the
bandwagon
variety
thing.
that
Like,
they
there's a
bring in.
and
million
So
fans.
yeah, and I mean, I don't think that we sound like Radiohead at all, but I, I don't know. I think that just compositionally, um, that's just really strong music. But as far as you know, the types of things we're enjoying now, uh, I'm influenced um, by Death Grips. I'm influenced by um, Melanie Martinez. I'm
mm,
influenced by I really like her. I watched her movie the other day and that was cool. Uh, you know, I mean, all the classic bands I love because I grew up studying, you know, all that music. So to me, you know, um, my teenage years, I really just focused on, yeah, all the music from really the 50s to the 90s was just
oh yeah,
you know, so
that's cool.
yeah, so
I can
to
hear
me,
those
I was
influences
really
too.
into all
So
the classic, yeah, all the classic 60s music, psychedelic music, you know, Jefferson Airplane, uh, you know, the weird Beach Boys,
yeah, the
not
fun
the
Beach Boys.
Oh my
early
God,
Beach
yeah.
Boys.
Love some
And
weird Beach
yeah,
Boys.
and you know, yeah, and stuff like that. And but then also, I mean, really, like I do listen to a lot of things. I mean, I really like listening to George Clinton, or listening to um, you know, something completely on the opposite, you know, spectrum. Like maybe I'll listen to um, George Gershwin,
Mm.
or I'll listen to even just like, you know, ambient music or different things. Ben really likes Aphex Twin. That comes through in their drumming style. Nico really likes Skrillex. I think that also comes through at the end of the set. I know it's funny how many indie bands actually like Skrillex. It's weird.
Like
but
unironically.
yeah.
but also I don't know. Yeah, I think Skrillex is dope.
For sure.
Yeah, for me, I had a year where I was really into kind of this really dark music because I was in a weird place. So I was listening to Daughters a lot, you know, that band.
I don't think so.
They're a band from Rhode Island. They put out an album in 2018 called You Won't Get What You Want that is like just a total fuck you to music.
Good stuff. All right, check that out. Daughters then.
And I was into that, and I was really into some rap songs from Earl Sweatshirt.
Okay. Yeah.
With super dreary kind of washed out hip hop album. But then it just got to me where I feel like I needed a total change. And I was like, what if I just listened to all the music that I just pushed away forever? So I was like, fuck it. What if I listened to Rihanna and Katy Perry and like, you know, pop music? And the stuff that I was like, oh, that's off limits. I'm not supposed to listen to that because that's not cool or whatever. And I really stopped caring about wanting to be cool in that regard. And it was cool because it kind of came in tandem with a couple of jobs in music production that were more in that style, you know, like writing for some other artists and producing some pop kind of stuff. And because of that, I feel like it changed how I looked at a lot of composition and music in general. And it's not an ironic thing to me. Like, I think there's something to like out of all music. So at this point, like, I might go between listening, I mean, even on my phone, like, I can let you know the last few things I liked on Spotify. But
very Kevin Parker of you, what you just said, though.
Yeah, well, it's just, I mean, I think that there's a lot to be learned from all kinds of music ultimately, you know, and especially if I'm going to be working on something that is a certain style, I want to know how it's made. You know, I can't just bullshit that and be like, oh, well, I've only listened to indie music, but I'm supposed to make a beat that is, you know, could be, you know, an Ellie Goulding type beat or something.
Right.
And it's just like, you got to know what you're doing. But okay, so the last couple of things I liked here, Phoebe Bridgers, Kyoto, that was good. Freddie Dredd, Opal, Oliver Tree, Let Me Down, his last song, in quotes. I don't know if that's really his last song.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Frank Ocean, Death Grips, Kenny Rogers, The Garden.
I was supposed to see them with George Clanton opening. That got
Me
canceled.
too.
Yeah,
me
that was
too.
you were gonna be there. That was like last week, right?
Yeah, dude. I have followed them for quite some time. Although I'll give up my points and say that when they first came out, I really didn't like it. Like,
yeah,
I was
really.
Like, what
That's
the
so
fuck?
funny.
Yeah, because they were in California, so
you even got them before then, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
even
saying
probably found them.
They really in the early times, and I just didn't get it at all. I was just, because I was listening to super classic rock, so I was like, I'm listening to like Humble Pie or like Led Zeppelin. Like, I don't want The Garden. But now I love them. I think that that's really great, especially Mirror Might Steal Your Charm. I saw them in the fall of 2018, and that was a show at Elsewhere with Machine Girl. That was cool.
This one was supposed to be at
this one was at Warsaw, I think.
Warsaw, that's right. Yeah, it was supposed to be at Warsaw. You know what's funny? I actually discovered them because of George Clanton. And I can't even tell you how I discovered George Clanton, but I know I've been following him on Facebook since he was Mirror Kisses.
Oh, sure.
And I have zero, I like looking
He's
back,
so
he just
good.
always pops up. Yeah, he
His
just always pops
album-
up on my Facebook. I'm like,
Hey.
oh, this guy again. That's right.
You guys, I want to jump in here just because I was just looking at the Zoom clock and I know this cuts off at 40 minutes and I'm just worried that I'm not sure if we'll be able to start another
It-
one and I don't want to lose the recording. I wanted to make sure that in case we can start up another one, which hopefully we can, so we can keep talking in these last 3 minutes, if you could just like quickly like go over something that you're working on now, if you want to play a couple bars. I just know that this part of the recording, the video, is gonna like run out in like
Okay.
2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
we could
I
restart
got some sort of notification that it said it had unlimited minutes, though. I don't know if either of you
Yeah, I
got
saw that too.
But
Mine is showing. I mean, I think if we have a paid account, but this is not one.
Okay.
Well, we'll see what
So-
happens in
well, we'll see,
2
yeah.
minutes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so do you want me to play something or?
Yeah. I'd like to hear something new that's going on before this runs out. I mean, listen, we will try to
Cool.
start up another meeting, but I'm just in case we have trouble with that. I want to make sure we get this. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Should I play the whole song then? If it's only 2.5 minutes, it might cut off.
Hey, it'll just cut off, and that's
okay.
just that's how it'll be. We still have our audio. We can still keep talking about the audio.
Cool.
It's just the video
On-
part. Go ahead.
I see. On Monday, we're putting out a song called "In Another Life," so I'll play that song.
Great.
Okay, cool.
And I have the guitar going direct on my end.
Oh,
so it'll
nice.
sound good.
Life is like a movie when it never seems like there's a point to any of the scenes. Why? Whoever wrote that shit was high. But no matter who you are on the screen, seems like you can't change anything. So I much prefer my dreams, 'cause in another life we made it out okay. We never made mistakes, no, not today. But in another life we had our better days. We never fell away, no, not today. But in another life, in another life, it's just the way to sell your magazines. Love is like some crazy methamphetamine. Seems I don't know what it means when everyone you love is everything, then they disappear and don't mean anything. Well, what's in all this for me? 'Cause in another life we made it out okay. We never made mistakes, no, not today. But in another life we had our better days. We never fell away, no, not today. But in another life, in another life, in another life, in another life, in another life we made it out okay. We never made mistakes, no, not today. But in another life we had our better days. We never fell away, no, not today. But in another life.
There you go.
I know I've heard you play that live too, so it's cool that's finally getting released. I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad that's
And guess
coming
what,
out.
guys? The video didn't cut off. We're still going.
Sweet.
I
All
really
right,
thought
let's
it
keep
was
this
going
party
to.
going.
No, I'm so glad. I was like, oh, okay, good. We got the whole song. So,
Yeah.
but I just
Good
was like,
intermission.
Yeah.
just in case, I was like, I
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to
so
make
it's
sure
good
that
call. Good call.
we got a piece of that, because now I can ask you, like, because I know, James, you wanted to talk a little bit about like songwriting influence, right? And this
Definitely.
might be a good time to do that.
Yeah.
You know, so you obviously you guys have released quite a bit already, you know, for a pretty young band. And I remember reading an old article where you said that you release a lot because you write a lot, and there was a time where you were also doing almost all of the recording. How much has that changed now? Like, is it more of
True.
is it more of still mostly you,
Yeah,
or
it's totally more collaborative at this
cool?
point. I got to the kind of place where I felt like I really wanted people to bounce ideas off of, and I already had great musicians around me, but I just wasn't really open to it because I had such a idea of what I wanted.
Mm.
But that really changed at the beginning of last year, and ultimately because of that, I just kind of decided, you know, if I'm working on something, instead of just saying my way or the highway, how about, you know, I'll send it over. What do you guys think of this?
Mm.
You know, how about, and then maybe one of them comes up with a different thing. I mean, a lot of these songs maybe come out of beats that I made with Nico,
Mm.
because we live together. So most nights we like to make music together.
Oh my God, what a
And
great
then we'll just take
arrangement.
whatever
My
we
God.
think is actually, yeah, we just take whatever we think is worth making into a song, and then you know, build it out more. But I've really appreciated that, because I think people like music for different reasons. So if you can make one piece of music that satisfies three different people's needs in music,
Mm.
then it's a stronger piece of music than if it's just one person's
It's a good way
point
to
of
think
view,
on it.
you know?
So those first two albums, though, that's like pretty much just you.
Okay, Gunk is me and Ben.
Okay.
Ben and I. And Baby on Cement is mostly me.
Okay.
Ben plays on, I think, 4 of those songs or 3 of those songs. And then Travis, or Under the Weather,
Mm-hmm.
by Travis, whatever, verbose title, is me, Ben, and Nico. So,
Far more collaborative on
but
that
even
one.
so, no, well, I mean, the recording, yeah, but all of the songs were my songs,
Mm.
and I was making the calls. As far as, you know, it wasn't a lot of, oh, for my part, I want to play this. It was more like, this is what your part is. But that's different now at this point. I feel like if I want to operate like that, I don't think I should do it within the context of a band with these musicians. I think it makes more sense. I mean, I still write like the top line, if you will, like the lyrics and melody, which I think is natural because I'm singing it and I'm the front person. So ultimately, being connected to that is important. But I think you know, on a different level, it's like we, you know, both of my bandmates are so talented that I think it's cool to be able to kind of have a think tank of music and say, you know, that thing would be even cooler if we, you know, changed it or something. You know?
How'd you guys find each other?
I met Ben when I was 10 at a music program for children to play classic rock.
Oh wow!
Cool.
Like,
That's
it
great,
was
actually.
like School of Rock, kind of like.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny too, because Ben and I knew each other and played music together, but weren't really friends until I was like probably 14, 13. And so in that time, we would make plans with each other and get lunch and stuff, but not really talk, which I think is just funny because to me, I feel like we were preparing to spend a lot of hours together. And
As it turns out,
and
yeah.
as far as Nico, I met Nico in New York City, but Nico's from Pittsburgh. I met him because we had a different person in our band named Lucas, and Lucas was friends with Nico. So he brought Nico in.
That's
James,
cool.
did you have any other like songwriting things that you wanted to ask about?
Well, we kind of touched on them already, if I'm being
Okay,
honest.
because
So
I want
yeah,
to ask you a couple of things because
go for it.
you're a whole person, and there's other things going on in your life.
Something like that.
So I was
Uh-huh.
curious as to like what your degree is that you're pursuing. Number one, and number two, like what you're up to right now when you're not doing music. Like what are you watching? Tiger King? Like I
Okay,
don't know
well,
what are
the
you doing.
degree, so, oh God, yeah. I
Yeah, we'll
finished
talk
the
about that.
degree. It's a business degree.
Good stuff.
And yeah, I finished the degree. It was a business degree, and um, I finished high school early after 10th grade. I tested out and I started doing this business degree. And I've been doing it while, doing audio production work and while teaching and while touring and recording and, all that stuff. And for me, I don't really see myself working in an office or even working for a company that isn't music related in some way. But I think it's just helpful because I'm running a business. I mean, I would say I'm running more than one business because when I'm doing, work with the band, we ultimately are effectively like a small business, and we make merchandise, and that's its own business, and we are trying to monetize our music in any way we can, which is its own ordeal. And then we
Sure.
have a business out of our live shows, and then my personal production work is business in and of itself as well. And so being able to just learn about how to communicate effectively, how to lead, how to diplomatically handle a disagreement, how to know what's binding and what isn't legally, stuff like that. I think is just really helpful. So ultimately, that was kind of the motivation with the degree. And
Way you're
outside of
21.
music.
I'm like, no way you're 21. This is this is a
Outside of
PR thing.
music, no, I wish. We would get more PR. I think that the PR cuts off at 20. I don't think anyone cares after that.
Then you're on your own.
As far as being a young person, because I've been playing
what stupid
for
things
a
do you
long
do? Do you
time.
do
I mean,
anything stupid?
my life is stupid.
No, it's not. That's a thing. It's so together.
I no, it's not. What do I do? Well, in this quarantine, I've been watching some movies. I watched Tiger King, which was fascinating.
She fed her husband to a tiger. There's no fucking way. That dude got eaten
I
by
don't know
a
if you knew
tiger.
this, but I agree. Also, I thought it was cool because Mark, the singer of Devo, did the music.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is
Really?
just a cool
I had no
side
idea.
note. Yeah, he did. He has a studio where he scores stuff like that. And he did that. But
That's fascinating. I
thought
had
that
no
was
idea.
cool. The other day, I watched a documentary that was essentially, it was about the 20s in America, and it was narrated over, there was no interviews, but it was narrated over footage of all the events that were colorized. So they took all this black and white footage and colored it. And I thought that was so cool. I love stuff like that because I feel like it honestly was comforting to see all these things that even, at the time and in retrospect, they're pretty terrible things, in terms of the stock market or like, the flood or, like riots or things like that, to just kind of remind myself, like, the world has always been fucking crazy. And there's no way that right now is, the only time that people have felt like they have no idea what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, I bet that, all throughout time, especially in this country, but in general, there's always been some crazy shit. I mean, I think about like the world wars, like people probably felt like the world really was ending. And, you know, here we are that much later. Obviously there's bigger existential threats in terms of climate change and things like that. But I thought it was just a cool documentary to watch because it made something that felt very foreign at first, super, human, I guess, or like I felt connected to seeing it. And then outside of that, I watched, I never saw Mad Max Fury Road until the other night.
Good
Now I
one.
see you're
Fucking
21.
Good movie. Good movie.
That was I know, I'll say it was magnificent because, okay.
That's
like,
a masterpiece. I would argue that. It's a legitimate masterpiece of a movie.
On a pure visual basis, every shot looks like it's a painting. Like that was so well composed. And I think that, I mean, I know they were in pre-production for like, you know, a decade plus on that or something.
Do you ever follow how they did that? How they didn't like write a script or anything. They storyboarded everything first. That's how they laid it all out, as they storyboarded everything, and that's sort of why they ended up having such striking visuals.
That kind of reminds
cool?
me. It kind of reminds me. Have you ever seen the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune?
No, what's that?
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a documentary about it's this director who made a lot of kind of art films in the 70s. Like most famous one is Holy Mountain, or The Holy Mountain, which is a super crazy, awesome piece of cinema. And he was going to direct the movie for Dune, and he put together a booklet of every shot before having a script or anything. And actually, I mean, there's a lot more details that are crazy. Like this, the cast had a lot of really interesting people in it, but among them, it had Salvador Dali and it had Mick Jagger in it.
Stop. Who were they going to play?
And I couldn't tell you. I don't remember. And Pink Floyd were going to work on the soundtrack.
What happened?
I did hear that actually. Yeah, I did hear about that. That Pink Floyd wanted to do the soundtrack for a Dune movie.
They got shut down by the studio. Ultimately, they didn't think that it was going to do well, but or they didn't have the money for it or something. Maybe it was that they, you know. And the director, trained his son in martial arts to be like the main protagonist.
That is
really.
so sad that this movie didn't happen.
Crazy.
So funny.
But
all right, we'll have to look that one up.
What's beautiful though about the movie is that he kind of says, because he creatively envisioned it and made the booklet of every shot, he feels like he made it. And ultimately, all of the cartoonists and, you know, story people that he brought on to work on it went on to do seminal films and brought like certain elements of that into all these other films. So like part of the documentary is showing after the fact side-by-side comparisons of like the booklet that they made, and then, you know, maybe something from Predator or maybe something from Star Wars, or, you know, things where it's like, oh, sure, the movie didn't get made, but its cultural impact kind of still happened through all of these different people who were involved taking it and putting it in different movies. Point being, that kind of process I think is similar, and I think I love stuff like that. So yeah, I've been watching stuff. I've been cooking a little bit.
Good, yeah.
And
your signature dish.
I mean, you know, I've been drawing. My signature dish, I like to bake mac and cheese with a bunch of shit in it. So I'll put like veggies and meat and stuff in it, and I'll bake it, and that's very good.
And it's like simple and easy to do. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll make the cheese sauce myself, like, you know, with a bunch of different things in it, and you know, I think it's a nice like comfort food kind of situation. I made a couple of cakes that are awful, but they taste good.
I really like to do. Go ahead.
They look terrible. They literally look like shit.
They're cake
like
wrecks. Have you ever been to the site Cake Wrecks?
Yeah.
Where it's like someone tries to like recreate a cake they saw on Pinterest, and then they show their version of it, and it's just a disaster. Still might taste good, but looks like a 3-year-old made it. That's cool though. I mean, it's like, yeah, it seems like you know, you're getting through quarantine. You're doing all right. you're doing all right. And we're
Yeah,
because we worry
ultimately,
about
I mean, look,
musicians.
I've had a crazy couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
um, for a myriad of reasons, and so ultimately, I feel like I have the tools to manage this, despite, I mean, obviously, like, there's definitely tensions, like with my landlord.
Mm.
Um, that is a headache,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I have the skill set, um, at least partially, to try and you know park that aside and say, okay, well, right in front of me, you know, is whatever I'm doing, and I think that's just really important to
You are
be
so
able to
damn together.
do
Like
this.
I have to say, like, you're so together. Like, I would think that your family would be very proud. Do they worry about you
Yeah,
out
I
here?
think they are. No, they don't. They're not worried. I
Okay.
think I'm more worried about them than they
Mm.
are of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
know
I mean,
that feeling.
I'm with, I'm with some of them though. So that's the thing too. I left my apartment, um, just because a lot of people live in that apartment, and I felt like it wasn't wise to stick around in the middle of something like this. It just wasn't a very, I mean, because a lot of times I might get a cold, somewhat frequently, in the winter, and even though I guess now it's spring, it's just the idea of being around that many people in an apartment that is just kind of a mess.
Mm.
I think it's just better to kind of take a pause. So it's been good to see family too.
Oh, so are you on the West Coast right now?
No, I'm on the
Okay.
East Coast. My dad lives on Long Island,
Oh, there
so
you go. Okay.
I'm
Oh.
at my dad's.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
good spot to be.
Cool. Oh, that is such
Yeah,
okay.
he moved from California. Yeah, he moved from California to Long Island. So yeah, so it's not too far. If I need something, I can figure it out. But until the city is all a little bit more figured out, I'm just gonna kind of wait it out.
Yeah, no,
That's fair.
I don't blame you. It's just like we really do. I have no idea when things are going to open back up. But I will say, like, I'm so glad that we have like technology like this because as someone who was here for let's see, 9/11, the transit strike, the blackout, Sandy, and now this. Uh,
Yeah.
it's this for me has been I would consider myself and I didn't really think I was because I like some me time, but at the end of the day I'm like, yeah, definitely an extrovert is definitely hard, because even
Oh,
after like
sure, sure.
It
even
took
after
you
not
this to realize that?
well, I was like not sure because I was like, I do like sometimes need these breaks, but I was like, no, like this not being around people thing is real tough for me, because
Yeah, I miss people a lot.
even after 9/11, we got together, we went to bars and stuff. When we had the blackout, we had no electricity and we were just like sweating balls. But you could go out you go to a bar and they just have candles out, and you go on the street and someone would have like a TV on top of a van. There was like you could be around people, and I think to myself, because I know that during the Spanish flu they had some quarantines, and I'm like, how freaking awful. Like, you have no idea what's going on. You can't connect with people at all. I was like, thank God at
Yeah,
least we
you can't
have
get
this.
news or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, wild.
you're
Sure,
just stuck
sure.
in your house. I was like, thank God at least we have this technology. It's not the same as being around people. Like, again, just being able to go up to a friend in a bar and just give them a hug and a pat on the back, you know what I
Wouldn't that
mean?
be
It's like,
something?
can't do it. And but I will say, like, at least there is like something like this so that we can communicate with people, because I try to imagine like this, what we're going through right now having happened, like in the 80s or
100
90s.
years
And
ago
oh my god, or yeah, 100 years ago. But like even in
when it
my
did
my own
happen.
lifetime, like it would just be that much worse. So I definitely I miss the
Oh,
shows
sure.
and
And even
whatever.
I'll say
Go on.
I was gonna say, even just this technology enabling, a very slim few, but some people to continue doing whatever they've been doing,
Yeah.
Sure.
I think is valuable,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
Yeah.
adjustments to be made. Like, I've experienced that, with my own job in terms of people. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, older people, boomers, having a little bit of trouble, like making some adjustments, some technological
Figuring out
adjustments.
the whole internet connection thing.
Here it's me being like, oh
Yeah,
shit, I
that's
could do
funny.
my job from home like 3 days a week at least. And, and they're like, no. They're just like, dying, kicking and screaming, waiting to go back to the old way. And I'm kind of like, I'm kind of feeling the new way in some ways. Like, I still want to go to the office, but like
Yeah.
maybe like twice a week. You know what I mean? But
I think you might see some companies reducing the amount of people that actually have to go to the office anyways after this. I think
yeah,
I
agree completely. Yeah.
maybe I'm really getting a bit smaller and kind of treating it like not everybody has to actually be here.
Yeah.
In general, it's cheaper to do that.
I was about to say the same thing. Like, how much money do you think they'd probably save just having a smaller building with less people in it and just relying on
and having like a
everybody has an
rotating
internet
desk space,
connection?
like have fewer
Yeah.
desks. Like it's like, okay, this is so and so's desk on like Mondays, and it's so and so's on Tuesdays, and
Right.
you know what I mean? Something like that might be kind of cool. But yeah, it is a. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make that joke, James. We are living in strange times.
we debated whether to open with something like that. We weren't sure.
No, I was thinking, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
You got it.
I'm gonna make a dad. I'm gonna make a
just
dad.
embrace it.
I'm gonna make a dad joke. Well, listen. I want to ask you if there's anything more that you want to add.
Actually, I have one question that I've not been
Sure.
able to ask yet.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
So we talk about our whole thing is that we go to concerts. What is the best concert that you ever went to as a fan?
Okay, well, I've been to a lot of concerts, and I've liked a lot of them for different reasons.
Sure.
But easily, my favorite one was in 2016. I saw Radiohead, and at the Garden, and I got there so early that I was like in the third row of people. Like I was waiting there for hours.
I did the same thing for Vampire Weekend. I stood in the same spot for 6 hours.
Yeah, and what was great about that show is, I got like some sort of early, like because I was like I think because I gave my email or something, there was some discount where my ticket was not as expensive as the normal value. Because those tickets can run up a lot, I think it was a mix of where I was and just their stage volume, but I didn't wear any ear protection, and they were not too loud at all. Like even though they were playing this huge place, I afterwards didn't have any sort of ear problems, which I've dealt with for loads of other bands.
Sure.
That to me was kind of inspiring in and of itself. I was like, wow, if you can play the Garden and not give someone hearing damage.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Is that on the band's tech people, or on the venue's tech people?
It's honestly on everybody, because some bands have very loud stage volume, which makes it a little bit more difficult for the other people to do their job. Because if you're supposed to be balancing out everything, especially like if you have all of your stuff on the stage, you might be dealing with the issues as far as, if everyone is, cheering and you have a ton of mics that might be in conflicting areas, you don't want feedback or, weird things that might come up. But ultimately, I think that it's, it's primarily in a venue that big, it's primarily on the front of house person. But in smaller venues, it's more on the band. I say that because sometimes the PA system cuts out at a huge show and you hear how loud the band actually is. And even if they're playing super loud, because it's a huge venue, it doesn't sound that loud comparatively. So at that point, but as a band, generally, it's always better to have a lower stage volume, because then you just give the engineer more control to make the band sound good. It's hard if you need something to come in volume to come up, but if it's all the way down, it's still really loud, then you can't do a lot with it. So yeah, but that was probably my favorite show overall, but there have been a lot of great shows. You know, smaller shows or uh, other, you know, things like I think that'll be like the main answer. But I feel like another great one um, would have to be like, I mean, I've seen Gogol Bordello a fair amount of times. I think I've seen them like 4 times.
Mhm.
And that's not even a band that I listen to their recordings that much, but that show is nuts. I mean, that's a crazy show. You don't have to like, I mean, I do like their songs, but you don't have to know any of their music to be fully in that show.
Sure, just have a good time with it for sure.
And that's totally yeah, just really cool. Yeah. So I don't know, you know, but I've seen a lot of great shows. I mean, my first show ever, I used to go to bigger shows when I was younger. And I definitely don't go to as many now, but I mean, I saw when I lived in LA, I saw Jack White at the Fonda Theater, which I think is 1,000 cap or something. So really small for him, but still a big venue in my eyes. And you know, seeing someone like that in a smaller venue was so cool.
It had to be.
You know, or even like I saw my first ever concert, I saw Roger Waters perform Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, that's like,
wow.
And it was at the Hollywood Bowl too. You just can't beat.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one to start with. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly. So but I've been really avid about going to shows, you know, seeing a lot of times if I'm around, I mean, less so in New York because I usually have more of a schedule, but you know, a couple times a year I'll go to California to do some work and see some family and stuff. And it's great, you know, if I see some friends and we're like, what can we go do tonight? You know, random. And you never know. Like one time it was like $15, nosebleeds, Herbie Hancock and Kamasi Washington, you know, totally killer.
Why not? Yeah.
And it's just one of those, like, that was a spontaneous, like, fuck it. Like, let's go to the nosebleeds. Just, you know, it's love stuff like that. Yeah, I think especially in this day and age, going to shows is that much more valuable. You know,
I hear that. You know, it's like something to be said. It's like if you pay $200 for a ticket, you better be getting a great show. But it's almost better when you pay like $20 for a ticket and you get a great show because you didn't necessarily expect something like that. So
way
it almost
better.
stands out more, right?
And ultimately, I mean, look, I get why some shows are expensive considering that the music industry is so confused, and ultimately streaming, while you can make some money now, is still kind of evolving in a way that it's really hard to have a concrete sense of relying on it for money. I get it. Like if you can fill a ton of seats.
Oh, you cut off again.
I
think James, he cut off for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna like pause and wait for him to come back. We lost you again.
What about now?
The last thing that we heard.
Okay.
The last thing we heard was that you said something about filling a bunch of seats.
Yeah.
I was just saying that ultimately. Am I still here?
I got you now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying I think that shows should be accessible, but I also understand artists knowing their worth and you know, in this kind of climate, looking at shows as the main way that they can survive. So you know, it's a mix of things, but it always is fun to be surprised. You know, going to a random thing and just totally being floored is great.
Awesome.
Who would be like a dream for you to open up for? Like which band?
That's a current band or like of all time?
Both.
Like realistically, like you could open for them someday.
Okay, I would say for us, in our realm of music, because I think that if we opened for like a really big artist, it would probably be like maybe Beck or Saint Vincent,
St.
or
Vincent,
could
that'd
see
be a
that.
cool one.
Gorillas.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
That
Magnificent.
actually would be.
That's
That's a great
that's
choice.
That's really cool
that's
idea.
my answer actually is Gorillas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Our
think of that. It's a
music,
great one.
yeah, and especially, I mean, we're always changing as a band, but right now we're doing a bit more of electronic stuff. And while I don't rap or anything, my writing is definitely a bit more influenced by, you know, hip hop and things kind of adjacent to what they do. And I like that blend of alternative and hip hop in a way that doesn't feel, I don't know, like it feels believable. Like listening to a Gorillaz record, I think maybe it's because there's a lot of features and stuff, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like, oh, you're just trying to throw some rap on this song. Like it feels really good. And I think, yeah, that's my top answer. I love Gorillaz.
That's a cool one. And also, like, you guys, you don't sound exactly like them. So like we talked about before, it wouldn't just
Right.
be the same thing twice.
I mean, I think
you know?
if it was, because that's kind of where we're changing, right? Like if it was a while ago, I might have said Arctic Monkeys or Royal Blood. You know, I mean, but,
I had tickets to see them coming up.
yeah, because
Royal Blood.
I mean, I caught their first LA show, which was at the Troubadour, I think.
Get out. That's cool.
And yeah, so it's 300 cap, and it was cool that the band Muse were in the audience too.
No.
What?
And because it's LA and that's how it goes. And
Wow.
I met Ben, the drummer of Royal Blood.
That's really cool.
He was super nice outside by the bus, and it was just really great. And also, now I'm going back to your previous question, but I went to see the band Mini Mansions at the Troubadour. They are a side project of the bassist of Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, okay.
And they're a little bit more new wave than Queens. Obviously, Queens is like a big rock band.
Right.
But Mini Mansions is more new wave. And they put out an album when I was in high school that was really good. And it had a feature from Brian Wilson, and it had a feature from Alex Turner. And at that show, Alex Turner came out and did his part of the song, and I touched his foot, and I put a Living Strange card in his shoe.
No, that's awesome.
Which
That's smart. That's smart.
I'm
That's
sure
awesome.
I'm sure he was annoyed and threw it out. But I
Yeah,
don't
we've
care
done that. We did that.
because
We have
it
done that
was
at shows.
awesome. That was so fun, and he was great. I mean, it was such a surprise because I was thinking, oh, they'll probably play each on a track, or maybe one of them will do it. And then he came out, and I was like, oh shit, here he is. That was I met those guys too actually, because they did a record release and they signed my copy. That was super fun.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey James.
Yeah,
was there-
Arctic Monkeys, that's a big bucket list band for me. I haven't got a chance to see them, unfortunately. So hopefully someday.
They put on a really good show. I caught them on the AM tour. And I mean, that show was life-changing also.
Yeah.
Because Alex Turner's performance was just so well done. Total example of that kind of frontman. I think, obviously some people kind of find it silly, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. To me, I don't think that being a little dramatic is a bad thing. Entertaining, like especially these days. This is like far from the cool indie thing to say, but I've really been enjoying the 1975. The music they've put out in the last year.
I like the 1975
is
a lot.
so.
I don't know why everybody's trashing them lately.
I'll tell
I don't get
you
it.
what, no, people have been trashed. I used to trash them. People trash them.
They did with
because
Tim Impala too, but
well, because it sounds very 80s. But to me, I don't really care about the 80s vibe.
Yeah.
I care about this new energy that I'm getting. Oh, give me one sec. Sorry.
no worries.
Anyways, they've put out a handful of songs that just seem really tasteful and cool to me. Like Frail State of Mind was awesome. the birthday party, awesome. People, awesome. That band has totally been kicking ass, and
Yeah.
I say it because I haven't ever seen them, but I love to watch videos because I feel like does a good job as a frontman performing. You know.
I'm kind of okay. Now I got you back. Hey, James, was there anything else that you wanted to ask? Because I want to make sure that you.
So I got my one last question. We talk you guys up a lot. We talk as many bands as we can up. We're trying to get people to like listen to XYZ. We basically just trying to get people to listen to what we listen to. Who do you want everybody else to be listening to other than the Living Strange right now?
Well, local to New York or in general?
Just a band that like you just don't think has gotten the recognition that they really should have right now.
About it. To say, I mean, there's a handful of bands that I really like, and my friends' bands that I think are good. But I think in terms of, you know what, I'm gonna say, oh shit, I'm gonna cut out again. I'm gonna say Moonkissed. Everyone ever should listen to that band. That
I saw
band
that
is
one,
so
yeah.
good.
You weren't there. Drake and I went to that
shows-
one and he played. So yeah, I
Their
remember that one.
shows are so good. Everyone, I think that band is going to be really successful. I mean,
agree.
I consider them successful in their own right, but I mean, as far as having a career, maybe I'm, I don't want to be all like, how do I say, like, I don't mean to put down other bands because a lot of great bands are in, a city like New York.
Sure.
But they have really stood out to me when they play shows, and they make a lot of the other bands just seem like I don't know. I watch them and it makes me feel like, man, I should be watching this show at a bigger venue.
That's what I thought because I saw when you guys were with them at Union Pool.
That's the energy that I get from those.
Yeah, I've had that feeling before. It's interesting that you say that. Like, I feel like I should be watching these guys at a bigger venue. I also had
Right.
the opposite happen where
Yeah.
like, I think this bed venue is these shoes are too big for you.
Yeah.
But I've definitely had that feeling of where like, yeah.
Okay,
So,
well, yeah, I've had that. Sure.
so it's
I was
called
just agreeing with you. Sorry.
they're called Moonkissed.
Moonkissed, yeah.
Okay.
I saw them because
kissed, like past tense. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So when because it was so I have like Songkick and like all these apps that tell me when bands that follow come up. So you guys came up. You guys are doing the show at Union Pool, and I'm like, oh, all right. Of course,
Yo,
$10. I want to go to that.
else?
Yeah, and then that was their album release show. So that's when I
And
discovered them. I had never
also,
heard of them.
A Boy Named John.
Yep.
I don't know if you know that band.
Saw them with you.
You saw them play, right? So I've known them for a long time, and they don't really play the style of music I like to listen to a lot. Like they are definitely more like kind of My Chemical Romance style,
Yeah, post-hardcore
kind of thing. Yeah, post-hardcore, what I would call New Jersey music. But
Very much.
I think that they just fucking do it so well that even though it's not really my thing, I'm like, I love this band. Like, I think they're so good at what they do that they really should have a huge audience. I think all the people who bought the My Chem reunion tickets in 2 seconds should be going to a Boy Named John shows and listening to that music, because I think they deserve more attention. Very kind of dramatic, and the singer will pull out a trumpet and stuff, and that's just exciting. Super cool.
Not to mention there's like 7 or 8 of them, and they're like really, really tight up there too. It doesn't feel like clashing.
They're awesome.
Right, because you get that a lot where it's just like too many people are on stage. Why do you need that? And then of course we saw this band Treated Shibachi, which was like what 30 people.
It was completely
I know
fine.
that band.
You know them? Yeah, they were cool. So you never know. It's like sometimes it's like you just wanted your buddy up there on the guitar. You don't really need a third rhythm guitarist. But I think they had 3 guitarists, bass, keyboards. Yeah, singer who played the drum or played the trumpet, and it was like it all sounded really, really tight, and like they rehearse a lot and practice and take it seriously.
And sometimes it's necessary, having all those people up on stage really works. But hey, if you pull out a trumpet, I'm all for it. I'm a trumpet player myself, so I'm a sucker for that. but like another example, like the band that we saw, James, that pulled out the lunchbox, and I was like, do we need that?
Do we need that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Who
not
was
even
did
kidding
that?
you.
Who was that? That
Oh,
was
I can't even. I think I remember his name, but oh man, it was a local band, very much like a who's that character on Saturday Night Live that acted kind of weird? Oh, he was kind of Belushi like, honestly.
Belushi like. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the band, but I was just like, what is going on here? But yeah, Tradici Bocce is a great example of a band where it was like there were so many people on stage, but like everybody
Everybody
was
needed to be there.
relevant.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Oh
relevant.
yeah, absolutely.
I loved that. So James, is there anything else that you want to ask? I want to make
That's
sure
it
we
for
don't
me,
miss
yeah.
anything. So hey, Eli, can I ask you for us, if we're gonna close this out, if there's anything more that you wanted to say about the material that you have coming up that we should be looking for, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we have loads more singles coming out.
Okay.
Obviously, because they're singles, it's just going to be one at a
Mhm.
time. But videos.
Do you you cut out
and
again?
I feel really good about them.
Do you have any live stream performances coming up?
Currently no, but honestly, I'm sure that I'll do more. I think all the ones I've done, I've been asked to do, but I could easily do it on our own
Sure.
page.
Mhm.
So considering that this will probably be in lockdown until June or some shit,
Oh, I hope
I'm
not.
sure that I'll be live streaming more. Yeah.
So-
And for that stuff, you just should you can find that info on our Instagram, which is at the living strange with underscores.
Yeah, we'll link you.
We're gonna keep an eye out for any of these new songs that you drop, any live streams and that kind of thing. And then again, we're gonna link to you so that everyone listening can see those things too. But can we close out with like one more song?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this a new one? Or
Sure. I'll play a new song.
Okay, cool. What's this one?
I don't like any of my old songs. I only like the new ones.
Oh no.
Really? we do. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what's this one?
I will play You're So Beautiful. I
There
feel
you go.
like I'm in a mellow
I've been waiting on
mood
this
right
for
now,
forever.
so I'm
When are you
trying
gonna
play the
release this one?
ballads. I actually don't know yet, but it's done. I mean, the recording is done, and it sounds exactly how I would like it to
Great.
sound.
'Cause
So I'm
I
really
think
happy with it.
I think I've heard you play it live 2
personally,
or
that
3 times.
recording is one of the best recordings we've made.
Great. Can't wait for it.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you.
Yeah, You're So Beautiful. Here we go.
You're so beautiful, it makes my heart hurt. It makes my eyes cry. It makes my soul bleed. You're so beautiful, it makes my thoughts turn. It makes my arms numb. It makes my head dumb. You're so beautiful, it keeps me worried, like I'm not worth it, or that you will leave. You're so beautiful, it makes me sorry. It tells me softly that I am nothing. So why you never trust yourself? Don't deserve somebody else. Do I love you, or do I just hate myself? And why does love cause so much pain? You and I are not the same. Don't know if I'm right or if I'm insane. You're so beautiful, it makes my heart hurt. It makes my eyes cry. It makes my soul bleed. so beautiful, it makes me sorry. It tells me softly that I am nothing. And I don't want to scare you now, but I don't really know how. Hard to let anyone in, I won't allow. So why you never trust yourself? Don't deserve somebody else. Do I love you or do I just hate myself? 'Cause nothing lasts. No, nothing lasts. No, nothing lasts. I'll be dreaming till I'm screaming. You're so beautiful, it makes my heart hurt. It makes my eyes cry. It makes my soul bleed. You're so beautiful, it makes my thoughts turn. It makes my arms numb. It makes my head dumb. You're so beautiful, it keeps me worried, like I'm not worth it, or that you will leave. You're so beautiful, it makes me sorry. It tells me softly that I am nothing. I am nothing. I am nothing.
Thank
Reach
you
your
so
hand
much.
out to me just like you did at the show. Oh, I love
Nice.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Seriously.
much for that. Okay, so listen, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Cool.
But for everybody out there, again, at the Living Strange with all the underscores, check them out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we really, really
chatting in
appreciate it.
Sharing's in quarantine, and I'm gonna hit the stop button